multiple state governors, and more are sort of leaning this way, are saying we are not going to take part in a federal program to pay a $300 a week supplement to unemployment insurance. Can they do that?
Well, I think it's up for the lawyers at the Department of Labor to decide, but I certainly think that, the CARES Act does specifically say, just as that last piece was speaking to, that, this is free money from the federal government on the table that governors are refusing, and they may not be within their rights to be able to refuse that money.
So, James Pethokoukis, there are lots of reasons why people decide not to go back to the workforce. It is intuitively sensible that one of those reasons may be that it pays them more to stay home and not go back to, most usually, a low-paying job. Is it really as clear as that? And is that the governing conclusion that we must draw from this?
I think it's reasonable to conclude that that's a factor. If you're making more not working, which is the case, and that's about half the time that's the case right now, then working, again, it's reasonable to conclude that might affect how hard you're looking for a job. It doesn't have to be, well, I'm not going to look for a job at all. It might be, maybe I look for a job 10% less than I would otherwise. So I think to call it a factor, along with probably still fear of the pandemic, a lack of childcare. And of course, a lot of these things affect each other. If those same people who aren't looking for a job are also your potential childcare workers, it all kind of works together. Now, hopefully, all these factors will begin to fade, by the fall, and these, extended unemployment benefits they'll be fading in early September. So this won't be an issue. But I think it's really important. Honestly, I think the Biden administration recognizes this risk as well, that this could be a factor, and that we don't then extend these benefits past early September.
So, Lily, as Jim points out, there are lots of reasons that work together in explaining this. And how do you, including inability to get childcare, the fact that kids are not fully back to school as they're not in my town, or fear of the pandemic, people who used to work in food service, even if they are vaccinated, they may not want to go back and work in close quarters with others who aren't. How do you rank in order the factors that are contributing to a lower labor participation rate and so many jobs going unfilled?
Well, if unemployment insurance was at the top of that ranking, I would expect that sectors like restaurants and hospitality wouldn't be able to hire anybody. And that's just not the case. We saw job gains in April. We just got the job numbers last week, last Friday. Job gains were actually concentrated in very low wage sectors like restaurants and hospitality. And, Indeed does great analysis around sort of what the job market looks like at any given time. And they showed that gains were concentrated in in-person work. So I just don't think that, unemployment insurance could be possibly at the top of that list of reasons. I think it's much more likely, when you talk to workers over and over again, they're saying, I don't have reliable or affordable childcare. My kids are in hybrid school. Maybe they're only back in person for a couple of days a week. Maybe their aftercare or before care is still really limited. And it's really limiting people's ability to take jobs. And that's what we saw in those jobs numbers last week. We saw an additional 165,000 women forced to drop out of the labor force. And that just, to me, shows that this is a caregiving question, not a question of unemployment insurance. It may be the case that unemployment insurance is making it plausible that those people can stay home, but I think they'd be staying home anyway. It may just not make any financial sense to work a shift if you have to pay more than you're going to make for someone to watch your child.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.